Are you curious about how much it costs to live in Portugal for the month? As slow travelers, we've broken down our November expenses into 10 key categories. If you're dreaming of a life abroad or just want to see how far your budget can stretch, stick around to see exactly how we spend our money and maybe get inspired for your own journey. Hi, I'm Darmish.
And I'm Karen. In this video, we're going to be talking about our expenses for the month of November, which was spent in Portugal. We were in different locations in Portugal, but we've spent the entire month here. We'd start off by saying that we are a Canadian couple that have been slow traveling for the last year and a half. We've set our monthly budget to 4,000 Canadian dollars, which converts to roughly $2,800 US. I'll let Drum start with the first category, which is accommodation, and it makes up the bulk of our expenses for the month usually.
As Karen mentioned, yes, accommodations is definitely on the top of the list for the month. For Portugal, we actually, as Karen mentioned, we stayed in 3 different locations. The first location, which was Porto, we spent 18 nights. The cost was $1,422 Canadian, which converts to $1,018 US. The second location we stayed to was Lisbon, which was 7 nights, which cost us $739 Canadian, and which converts to $529 US. And then the final location was Portimao. Portimao was 5 nights, which cost us $276 Canadian, which converts to $198 US dollars. So that takes our 30-day total for the month of November to $2,437 Canadian, which converts to $1,845 US dollars.
Oh, correction. It's 1,745.
Oh.
You said 1,008.
Yeah.
So I think what we should mention is at all three locations, the accommodation met all of the needs which we look for, which are walkability. So we were central to most of the attractions that we needed to get to. We were close to public transit, whether it be train or metro, and we were also very close to grocery stores at all 3 locations. We tend to do smaller grocery shopping, therefore we're making more trips, so being close to a grocery store is quite important to us. I think that's about it for accommodation.
For accommodations, yes. As I'll mention, we were in the 3 different locations. We do have a video already out in regards to Lisbon, so if you take a look, we'll have a link in the descriptions below for that video. And then as for Porto, we are looking at putting one together, so keep an eye out for the next week. We'll have a video out on Porto itself about the actual locations.
Correct. Moving on to the next category, it's going to be groceries.
Groceries, yeah. So for groceries for the month, the totals are 518 Canadian, which converts to about $371 US. With the groceries, that totaled out to be 12 trips that we actually made to the grocery stores over the month for the 2 of us. And Kieran will explain how we sort of do with our groceries.
Yeah. So we tend to eat at home predominantly, and in this case, we were mostly eating at home in Porto. Because we were in Lisbon for only a week, we ended up dining out for most of our meals, with the exception of breakfast. Majority of the days in Lisbon, we did have breakfast at home. And then in Portimao, the first 5 nights that we've been here, we've been eating our meals at home.
Correct.
Right? So let's move on to our next category, which is Dom's favorite category, and that's dining out. I have to reel him in a little bit here, otherwise we'd be eating out all the time.
Yeah. As I like to tell Karen, it's not just eating out. I just like food. I'm a foodie. The only reason I prefer eating out is because I don't have to clean up afterwards as much. So that's the main reasons. But for dining out, for the month, we spent $798 Canadian, which converts to about $571 US. Now that's broken down. We did 23 snacks/coffees, which totaled to be 195 Canadian, which converts to about 139 US. The balance of the month with 20 dinner/lunches, so those are meals, sit down usually, that we go to. The Canadian amount was $603, which converts to about $431 US for the month. Kieran's going to give a little breakdown on what her favorites might have been and some other details.
Yeah. So I think we'll start by talking about what was our most expensive meal. So when we arrived in Lisbon, we've been in Europe for a number of months outside of Portugal. We were craving something with a little bit of spice. So we ended up having our first meal out in Lisbon at an Indian restaurant, and that happened to also be our most expensive meal, which was around $63 Canadian, roughly 45 US dollars. And on the opposite side, the least expensive meals, which also happened to be in Lisbon, was a lunch that we had, and it was a bifana / soup and a drink with it, and that was roughly 12 Canadian dollars, translating to about $9 US. And out of all the meals we ate, my favorite both happened to be in Lisbon. I thoroughly enjoyed our Indian food, probably because I've been craving something with a bit of spice. And then my next favorite was the local Portuguese meal that we had, I think 2 or 3 nights into our stay in Lisbon. And that was amazing. It had, we had seafood rice, shrimp, some fish, and then you ended up having a meat dish because why is that?
Oh, because I'm learning to eat seafood.
Right.
I won't say I hate seafood. I'm learning to eat seafood, so I'm getting better. Of course, with all the countries we're visiting, being close to the water, there's always fresh seafood. So I on that night decided to go for the steak because I hadn't had steak in a while either, and the waiter had definitely recommended it, so I went with that.
Yeah.
So now. On my side,
what were your favorite meals?
On my side, I'm going to steal Kieran's. Having the spice was definitely a big reward for us, and I would say that was one of my favorites as well. Eating the Indian food at Swagat. The other one for me was actually in Porto. I'm a sandwich guy as well, so eating the bifanas. I tried a few different locations stuff. Definitely enjoyed my bifana at Congo. I would say. They were all good, but that one just edged out on the top for me. So that would be my favorite meal over in Porto was the sandwiches, and specifically at Congo.
So shall we move on to the next category, which is personal care? And I usually get in trouble in this category because I'm the big spender when it comes to personal care. So how do we spend our money in this category?
Okay. So the personal care, yes. I'll just go with the total for starters. It was 79 Canadian, which converts to about $57 US. And yes, Kieran's correct. She does tend to spend a little bit more on the personal care side. I shave my own head in the bathroom or the sink, so there's not a lot of hair products or things I need. Yeah. Kieran's expense for the month was her nails. She gets them done usually once a month. This time she had it done in Porto, and it cost her not a lot. It was 27 Canadian dollars, which converts to about $19-20 US. The other
but
items,
I say that's my non-negotiable.
It's a non-negotiable. I mean, Kieran's, it's guaranteed every month, so it's in there. It's a recurring, I guess, if you want to say. The other items for that category were we bought some cream, some soap, hairbrush. Once again, not for me. The hairbrush wasn't definitely used on me, and some hair clips. But overall, that category is not overly expensive usually for us.
All right, let's move on to the next category, which is health insurance. And we would say this is an extremely important category. Everyone should consider whether you're traveling simply for vacation or doing slow travel. It's important to have proper health insurance in place.
Yeah, never travel without extra health insurance coverage. You just don't know what could or couldn't happen, but it's better to have it. We came up with a cost for this month in November of 303 Canadian, which equals around 218 US dollars. It fluctuates. The charge is actually done in euros, so then what ends up happening is depending on the exchange rate, it'll fluctuate slightly here or there. But that's our average health insurance cost for the two of us together for the month. We use it mainly for just those one-off situations where there's something that's really urgent, emergency, large cost, that we use that one for. Not much else to say about that.
Yeah. We usually pay for routine stuff out of pocket, which brings us to the next category, which is medical care.
Yeah.
What was our spend in this area?
Well, medical care this month was $0. Like Karen mentioned, we use the medical care sides more for the routine things, annual, say if we have to do an annual dental check, or if we have to go to the walk-in, get a cut or something like that, that's not major, we'll pay those out of pocket.
Let's move on to the next category, which is the fun category, and that's entertainment. So what do we spend in entertainment this month?
Okay, so I'll give you the total first and then we'll talk about the category. So the total for entertainment was $230 Canadian, converted to $164 US. And then what really it is, it's, I guess, a combination of attractions, tours, any kind of entertainment stuff that we go, if we were to go watch a movie at the theater or something like that, we would put into this category. We did a fair bit of this compared to other months in Portugal. We've splurged a little bit. So I'll let Kieran give a little quick breakdown.
So I think where we spent the money was when we were in Lisbon and Porto, in both cities, we actually did a free walking tour, which we highly recommend. We do end up including a tip for that one. And we also had entry to the Central Palace. And the most expensive in this area would have been when we went to the museums in Porto. We chose to purchase a package that covered 6 museums, and that those are the WOW museums, the World of Wine museums, and that was roughly 118 Canadian dollars and about 85 US dollars.
And that's for the two of us together combined for all the museum package together. You will see that you can do smaller packages. You don't have to do all 6. You could do 1. You could do 3. But if you check out our upcoming video on Porto, we'll talk about that and you'll see more details about that.
So shall we move on to transportation, which is our next category?
Sure. All right. So transportation. Transportation for us is our domestic transportation. It's once we've reached our location, it's getting around the city, or if we're doing any kind of day trips or anything like that. Not any international flights, so that's separate. So our transportation for the month included 7 trips on the train, and we also did 8 rideshare rides, which were Uber. Now the trains cost us $189 Canadian, which was $135 US, and the rideshare Uber trips were about $80 Canadian, which turned into, when you convert it to $57 US, giving us our total of $268 for Canadian, $193 for US.
And amongst the cost for this was our 2 most expensive train rides. So we took a train when we left Porto to Lisbon, and that cost us about $50 Canadian, which is about 36 US dollars. And then we also took a train from Lisbon to Portimao, which is where we're located now, and that was around $41 Canadian and roughly 30 US dollars.
And I would say if anybody is coming, not to be afraid of taking the trains. It was so simple. It was very easy. You have your choice of either purchasing your tickets when you arrive at the train station or even doing it online. Either one is simple and easy to do, and the costs were not high. Like Karen was mentioning, those were our 2 most expensive. But when we went on to our day trips for return tickets for 2 adults ranged anywhere from 15 Canadian to 20, or if you're doing in US, $10 to $15 US for return for 2 adults. So very easy to do. The regional trains were clean. We felt safe, and they were on time, and the scheduling was not an issue.
Right, it was perfect to get around.
And then I would say for the Uber, we averaged around 5 to 16 Canadian, $3 to $11 when you look at it as being US. And those we just took when we weren't able to do the walking. If it was just that much further away that we were time constrained or the weather was an issue, we would Uber it. But otherwise, not a problem.
And which then brings us to our next category, and that's miscellaneous.
Okay, so for miscellaneous, not a big category for us. Miscellaneous items total to be $39 Canadian, 28 US. But also we group into that was also our transaction fees, ATM, any kind of currency exchange, which was $13 Canadian or converted to $10. So our grand total was $53 Canadian which converts to about $38 US for miscellaneous. The miscellaneous little items for this month in November weren't great. I know we purchased a luggage scale because we're always getting stressed out when it's time to start traveling. As everybody knows, weight makes a difference nowadays at the airport. So we bought the luggage scale, make sure we were eliminating that stress. We made a couple of trips to the laundromat for dryers. One thing we can tell you that a lot of the accommodations will include washing machines, but not dryers. So with the larger loads and time constraints, we went and did a couple of them at the laundromat using their dryers, which was cheap.
That brings us to our last category, which is recurring costs. And I'll let John give you the line items for these.
Okay, so our recurring costs, which we incur every month, top of the list, cell phones. We purchase local SIM cards. So I know other people keep their home cells and stuff, but we've decided to go this route for now. And we'll evaluate and see if we change it down the road. But it's been working well for us. We've actually found it cheaper to do it this way. For the month of November, we did $53 Canadian, and that converts to about $38 US for the cell phone. And then for the next category, which was subscriptions, which is our storage, any of our media subscriptions, streaming, those kind of aspects, came up to $21 Canadian, which was converted to 15 US. And then the final part of our cost for this category is our life insurance. For the two of us, it was $106 Canadian, which converts to about $76 US. So the grand total for our monthly recurring costs are 180 Canadian, and it's 129 US for the month.
Wow, that's a lot of different categories. So that brings us now to the grand total. Yes. What's our grand total for the month of November? I'm almost afraid to find out.
Kieran's afraid of. I've kept it a bit of a secret, so Kieran doesn't know the total. She's helped with the numbers a little bit, but she was not allowed to total anything. I'll put a chart up so you can review everything. But the grand total for the month was $4,866 Canadian, which converts to $3,484 US. So yes, we did go over budget. We don't do that very often. So we were 122% of our budget, which we were expecting to be over. So we're actually less than what we thought we might be over. We were expecting to probably be a bit higher. And we knew it because we were going to be doing shorter stays in the accommodations and things, so we knew we weren't going to be getting a lot of discount savings for long stays. And then we knew that we were going to be doing a bit more of the day trips, which we normally don't do a lot of. And we also had eaten in some specific touristy restaurants.
So how much were we over budget?
We were over budget by 867 Canadian dollars, which converts to about 621 US dollars.
Right. We should mention that our accommodation in Lisbon was split. We ended up actually renting a 2-bedroom apartment, and that's because we were very fortunate that our friends were visiting while we were in Lisbon. So we ended up splitting that accommodation, and that saved us a bit of money.
Yes,
actually.
We had friends fly in from Canada, so very thankful that they were able to get the time and do the trip out to see us. So we wanted to say hi to Deb and Dom. Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Thanks for coming out. It was a great time. We were sad that you had to leave. Wish you were still here with us.
Yeah. And our month was also very fast-paced compared to our usual style of slow travel, because we normally, as we said in the introduction, tend to stay at least 28 days, if not longer. So we know that some of these factors contributed to us being a little over our budget. But I think our overall impressions, like hearing the numbers now, I don't think we did that badly, actually. The month was full of activities. We were constantly busy. We didn't have a lot of downtime in November compared to what we would normally do. And we got to see and do a lot. So for me, overall, the experience was absolutely worth the extra money that we spent.
Definitely worth it. And it's not that we skimp or we stick to the budget's more of a guideline for us. As we're learning, as inflation and things change and stuff, we know that we're going to have to adjust. But that's okay for us.
Right.
So that's our full breakdown of what it costs to live in Portugal for the month of November. Now we'd love to hear from you. What surprised you most about our expenses? Do you think Portugal would fit your budget, or do you have tips for keeping costs even lower? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. If you found this video to be helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.
See you later.
See you later.